Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Valeria and this is the Off-Road Range, as usual. Congratulate me because I bought a car. And now I will examine it and describe it. So, this is a dark green Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ which was released in 1994. This is a legendary model. It is unique, simple and comfortable and has been compared to other SUVs such as the Land Rover Defender of the same period. The Jeep Grand Cherokee first appeared in 1992 during the Detroit Auto Show. The first generation has an internal ZJ index. It has been gradually evolving over the past 30 years. I told in the video number 1 why I chose the Jeep. I talked there generally what I will be doing and what you can expect on my channel. And in the video number 9, I told about criteria to be guided when choosing a car and why I chose the Jeep Grand Cherokee. There I talk about an integrated approach so that you can understand better what you want and what you need to focus on when choosing a car. But only you can analyze and make the choice. You can see video links in the top right corner. Today the ZJ model looks quite simple, but because of this it looks solid, rough, a little brutal and most importantly reliable. I like this simplicity, reliability and minimalism. As a basis, manufacturers decided to use the ZJ platform. It has a frame body structure. The SUV relies on a dependent spring suspension in front and on the rear suspension which has classic solid axles. The braking system, both front and rear, in my case, is equipped with disc mechanisms, but sometimes they are equipped with drum brakes. I didn't manage to shoot the conversation with the seller and car inspection on the spot because the owner was against it. Of course, I also wasn't able to shoot the paperwork since filming was also impossible in the registration department. As a rule, this applies to all filming in public institutions and communication with people in order to avoid problems in the future. Both the car and the registration cost me $12,500. At the moment of shooting this video, after buying the Jeep, some changes have been already made. I remember that I promised to shoot all the works, but unfortunately some materials were lost and some things couldn't be shot. Another problem is that I shot videos in December, January and February. In April, I was finally able to find time to edit the videos. And while working on my laptop in the apartment building where I live, there was a power failure. Apparently, the network was given more voltage than devices could withstand. My motherboard and all the devices connected to my laptop burned out, and I was left without raw data that I shot for you. I had to pay $400 to repair the laptop and $540 for new 16TB hard drive. It is clear that I cannot do without the laptop and the necessary amount of memory. Due to the fact that I lost the material, I don't have the opportunity to show you many things. In addition, I didn't have time yet to understand what material exactly and in what quantities was lost, because in these devices I stored videos not only about the repair of the Jeep, but also other videos that I had already shot. Therefore, I was left without a lot of material. In order to prevent such a situation from happening again, I started to use additional backup methods. I talked about it a bit in the video about information security, but I think that data loss is a reason to make one more video about information security when I have free time. When the video is on YouTube, the link will appear in the top right corner and you can follow it. Despite the fact that I lost a lot of raw footage, I still have something left, and I will show you what I have. But unfortunately, I have only low-quality videos and photos that don't bring satisfaction when watching. I want to make high-quality content, but so far I don't even have a camera and I shoot on my phone. However, I want to show you my new car. When I came to buy it during inspection, I found out that the headlights practically didn't work and the wires were bare at the terminals, and they had poor contact with the battery. I was dissatisfied with these shortcomings, since because of this I wasn't able to drive home on the same day. I didn't dare to drive in the dark on mountain roads without properly working headlights. I had to return to the city, order spare parts, and after a few days drive there again. I wanted to buy the low beam and the high beam brand Aurora, but there were no high beam headlights of the required width. So I bought the headlights that I planned to put on the side and on the back of the car. Later, I will buy the headlights of the required width to put it in front, and I will put in back those headlights that I bought recently. I didn't have a tool other than a multi-tool that a friend gave me some time ago. So I had to borrow a set of tools from a friend for one day. Luckily, he didn't need it that day. Also, I bought disposal gloves, electrical tape, and wires. So I had to go to the car owner one more time in order to install the headlights and to buy the Jeep. I kept old and decrepit lights for the time being. Perhaps I can repair them later and they will be useful somewhere. When I put the headlights on, I also changed the terminals. However, when I put the headlights on and changed the terminals, the battery ran out, although I measured the level of its charge upon purchase and it was charged. While I was charging the battery, it began to rain heavily, snow and sleet. The car had worn out tires because no one looked after it and didn't drive for almost a year and a half. Worn out tires couldn't go on ice. I had to call a tow truck, which cost me $290. The tow truck took the car to the service where I have been already training. As you can understand, given my situation, I had to buy and replace tires. I chose all-season tires, so I can ride without changing tires at any time of the year and on any surface. Since I will not participate in expeditions or competitions in the near future, I don't need specialized tires with increased lux. Also, I bought spare tire. It is of another brand, as there was no spare tire the same I bought, but it suits. And the main thing is that discs are the same. Also, together with the mechanics who trained me, we carried out a technical inspection and replaced what was in stock and what fit my car. I changed the engine oil and filter, brake fluid, transmission fluid and air filter. I bought WD-40. I poured HTF into the engine and I was embarrassed that I had to fill 1.5 liters more than it was stated in the service manual. Upon examination, no leaks or cracks were found in the radiator and tubes, but it is necessary to monitor the changes. Also, the car has a gas cylinder and the experts checked it for leaks and correct installation. I have charged the battery several times. Now it is alive, but the real condition is unknown. Only rear-wheel drive was available in the Jeep, as there was no second cardan. I ordered a new cardan and had to wait a few weeks until delivery. Now the Jeep has a full-wheel drive, as it should be in an SUV. The brake hose was almost torn and had to be replaced. So it is good that I took the Jeep on a tow truck, since the brakes could fail on the way home. Also, I replaced bearings, which cost me $135. There were traces of some kind of anti-corrosion coating on the bottom of the car, but it is not clear how and when it was applied. And in general, I will talk about the bottom of the car in the next video. I did part of the work in the garage where I am trained. Training costs $1,000 per month. I spent much more time on buying and maintenance that I had planned and immediately ran into difficulties, breakdowns, and unexpected expenses that exacerbated my financial situation. It is clear that Jeep has problems, but the same car in perfect condition would cost over $60,000. I talked about finances in the video number 6, but of course I couldn't buy both a land and a car at the maximum indicated prices, because in that case I would have $4,000 left for half a year. It is obvious that this money is not enough even for house renting and food, not to mention renting boxes and paying off the loan. So this amount for the car and for the land were indicated as maximum if my expenses would allow me. At the end of the January, I already understood that the situation is even worse than I expected. Even though I saved as much as possible on those expenses that I could, I still had to refuse from renting a box for repair and store my car. Therefore, some works were done on the street. We will see later what I can do. The cost of box renting, the cost of housing, food and loan payments cannot be reduced in any way. After the additional expenses, the situation became even worse. But these expenses were necessary in order to ensure the safety of driving a car. The apartments were paid until May, taking into account the prepayment. And by this time, I need to find a way to earn and thrive further. I need to figure out how to store and repair the car and how to earn money for repairing, accommodation and loan repayment. When I plan something, it sounds easy to you, as if I imagine how much money I have and several tens of thousands of dollars will appear on my account in a few moments. As if I can easily make thousands of dollars to hire people to repair the Jeep or to work physically hard on the plot. But in fact, you can earn only when you work hard. So, this is how the Jeep looks externally. The front of the Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ has a rectangular shape. The bumper and side part have a fairly simple convex shape. The headlights here are from another car, and I think it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or a Jeep Grand Cherokee VJ. The pipe on the bulbar is slightly indented, as if someone was breaking into a pole. Although this is a disadvantage, for me this is an indicator that the car can withstand collisions. However, I'm not going to break into trees or poles. The car has a pretty big crack in the glass, and it will continue to grow if not repaired. There is condensation inside the headlights, which means that moisture gets inside. There is a hole in the plastic bumper which catches your eye. It looks like some kind of stone flew into it, but fortunately there are no such dents in the metal body. The handle of the driver's door wedges a little, so there is a need to ensure that the door is tightly closed. This could happen if, for example, the door was frozen due to frost and some silly bipedal animal tried to tear it off without thinking and broke the return spring of the door handle. A thickness gauge measurement showed that the car was completely painted several times. There are several large scratches on the rear bumper. The trunk opens and closes with difficulties. Probably it is necessary to change the spring or the entire block because it is rusty and wedges. Perhaps the cable has frayed. The right passenger door opens with a shift, as if the joint is coming out of the articular back. Here the hinges are lower than necessary. Because of this, it blows from the road into the cabin. For the driver, this is not a problem, but my friend felt uncomfortable because when we drove around the city, a cold wind blew from there. Because of this, there may be more problems that I will voice later. And now let's move on to the engine compartment. The capacity of the current battery is 70 amperes per hour. Perhaps I would prefer a larger capacity, but so far this is the only option available to me. We will look at performance later. The drive belt is quite worn out. It will need to be replaced soon. It is obvious that the car hasn't been taken care of. And very interesting that they used a coffee lid to close the oil tank. There is no water-oil emulsion in the engine. This means that water never entered the car through the air intake system. Simply put, the car wasn't sunk. The car heater works intermittently. Perhaps something needs to be changed. The generator really stands at the top of the engine compartment, like in real SUVs. All service equipment is on top. Even the idler puller is higher than anything you can imagine. It is at headlight level. This is made in order to avoid flooding the equipment when riding in water or in mud. I chose a car with a petrol engine, not a diesel one, since the car will be driven in cold climates as well, and a diesel engine could be a problem. The Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ was factory equipped with a 5.9-liter V8 engine with a capacity from 211 to 245 horsepower. But my car has a 4-liter inline six-cylinder engine with a capacity from 177 to 199 horsepower. Apparently, one of the previous owners changed it, but I cannot know for sure. The fact that there is reduced power here is a disadvantage, since the car is heavy and the engine can work for wear. In this case, the resource of the engine will quickly come to an end. But it depends on operation and maintenance. If you do an inspection periodically, then all the issues will be identified quickly. In addition, it is possible that the power of this engine will be enough, then the car won't be used for competitions. On the other hand, a more powerful engine means that during intensive operations, more time will pass before the engine reaches critical temperatures. For example, when using a winch, when I put it on, or when towing a trailer on a hill, which is very important for me. I need to carry a lot of material and equipment in the future. Passenger vehicles won't be able to withstand such use. When I drive at high speeds, the car whistles sometimes. It also seems to me that it has increased noise when the engine is running. Later I can find out what's wrong. If you are a mechanic or the owner of a reliable SUV, advise me in the comments what difficulties and problems you encountered. With the hood open, I thought there was a lot of condensate and even snow under the hood and on the equipment. So there is water leaking somewhere. This is one of the causes of corrosion of electrics and a quickly discharged battery. I think that one of the reasons is that wrong standing hinges at the right passenger door. I said that there is leakage from the passenger side. This leads to the fact that during rain or snow, water constantly, imperceptibly flows into the cabin. I even partially removed the trim next to the windshield on the passenger side to see how the water flowed through the wires and relays, because in the Grand Cherokee ZJ, all the relays are located in very inappropriate places if you have a roof leak. As I said earlier, I had to give up renting a garage. For some time, the car has been standing on the street. After heavy rains, my friend found that there was a puddle of water under her feet. And with a constant source of moisture, a Jeep can absorb up to 1.5 tons of water. At the moment, I have no way to weight it and find out how much water it has gained. But I will show you a more accurate state when I shoot an inspection on the pit in the garage. And I will also shoot a video about this. If talk about the interior of the Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ, then these cars look like a brick from the outside. But it is clear that the designers tried to make a little house inside the car. There is a nice soft fluff everywhere. In my model, even the ceiling is covered with fluff. There are interesting, beautiful inserts made of leather and wood. There are white armchairs like sofas, a mirror the size of a TV. Here you can feel the ergonomics of a house and the spirit of the 18th. But unfortunately, some of the previous owners replaced black, high-quality factory leather with a light one. Why did they do it? I don't know. The factory version is a high-quality, durable branded leather that can be restored. The covers in my car are already partially cracked and parted. There are also small holes that don't look aesthetically pleasing at all. There is a place for a large gearbox and a knob for adjusting the all-wheel drive system to the right of the driver's seat. There is also a place for cup holders and a mechanical brake which works oddly. A feature of Jeeps is the presence of emergency button is behind the steering wheel and not next to the radio. Driving the Jeep is facilitated by hydraulic power steering. Designers didn't pay much attention to the back row. Everything here is very minimalistic and simple. No armrest, no cup holders, no organizer. There is only an ashtray. So the back row was used not for convenience, but for business. The advantage is that the back seat folds completely and there is a huge place for the trunk, where it is possible even to spend night for one person if necessary. There is as much as 1,135 liters in the trunk, and if you fold the rear row of seats, then the figure will increase to 2,255 liters, and I can sleep there calmly. And I have already slept in SUVs. Mountain lake, night rain, smells of flowers, very romantic. But in my car, a gas cylinder takes up a lot of space. On the one hand, the gas cylinder means less fuel costs and more fuel on board. From the other hand, the amount, width and size of cargo that I can put in the trunk automatically decreases. At least the cylinder is upright and not lying on the floor, which makes the situation better if you do not store the spare tire on the boot floor. For the old time that I've driven the Jeep after purchase, it didn't knock. Besides, when checking gas equipment, I made sure that it is fixed well. The trunk floor is also linked, but it is cool when it is new. But if it is used for its intended purpose, then the pile quickly loses its appearance. The trunk is without a subfloor, and this is a regular price for a tire. The tire takes up a lot of space in the trunk, and if the car is lifted, then the tire is even larger. Given the gas cylinder, there may be almost no space if the space is used not rationally. Therefore, in Jeeps, spare wheels are often located on the roof on the expeditionary trunk or on the hitch gate. What other questions and problems are there? The rails of the driver's seat belt and the passenger seat belt do not fully deploy. The speed arrow doesn't always show the speed reliably. It must be adjusted, as sometimes you need to take into account the speed in the navigator and the floor of cars nearby. The seat heater doesn't work on the driver's seat, so there is only one person who can warm up, the one on the front passenger seat. But it blows into his face because of the gap in the door. And also the front passenger seat doesn't move back and forth. Perhaps something got stuck there. The audio system works regardless of whether the car is running or not. There is a good sound, but several times the speakers switched on and off independently. The audio system must be checked. There are also issues with headlights, as I said before. The ceiling light doesn't work as well. The diagnostic display sometimes shows errors. Therefore, it is necessary to disassemble and replace the wiring. Since the owners didn't take care of the car, there may be a bunch of old unnecessary broken wires. During the time that it was standing on the street after the purchase, I didn't drive it for almost a month. After rains, it turned out that the entire fluff, the entire interior and seat belts are moldy. It is possible that it was even before the purchase, because no one looked after the car for a year and a half. But before sale, it was brought into an acceptable appearance. But now, under favorable conditions, it began to develop actively. I believe that it is not only in a salon where it is visible. I believe it is necessary to clean the ventilation system and change filters, as the pores can be everywhere even if they are not visible. Only at the stage of external inspection it is clear that the car has many shortcomings. I will have a lot of expenses and a lot of work which I will personally face for the first time on my car. There will be a lot of small detailed work. Because of this, I get upset. I was upset that I had to buy headlights and tires immediately after the purchase. There were unforeseen large expenses. I was very angry when I thought that the bottom of the front passenger seat is a real swamp. And there are a lot of issues with the electrics, and I'm not an auto electrician. For now, I don't know how I'm going to deal with wiring schemes. However, the car itself is very stable. This is a very reliable SUV that is difficult to immobilize. From my experience, Jeeps often run not in perfect condition. In addition, they have many opportunities for tuning and upgrading. After repair and modernization, you can trust the Jeep and not worry for a long time. It was constructed in the 18th and 19th. On the one hand, there are few complex technical solutions. From the other hand, for me, this is not a simple technical solution at all. Firstly, I will do everything myself. Secondly, in addition to repairs, I will modernize it. And most importantly, this is my first car I will work on myself. I would like to test its capabilities in forest, in mud or in mountains right now and show you. But my safety and the safety of the Jeep are more important. Therefore, first I will evaluate the condition in the pit, and only after that I will decide whether it is possible to travel on it out of city and take risks. Friends, I will be grateful if knowledgeable people with serious experience will tell me what I missed or forgot to check and what could be the reasons for water to blow into the cabin. I hope you enjoyed my review and look forward to continuing. Considering that earlier I was driving Jeeps for several years, now I am even scared when I change into a passenger car. Firstly, they are lighter and smaller. And secondly, my driving style is already adapted to driving Jeeps, and I need time to get used to a passenger car. Of course, people pay $200,000, $500,000 and even millions in order to feel cool and show other people their wealth showing off a car. But it is more adequate to choose a car based on their requests and requirements. And my requirements are such that I need a Jeep. This is not the most convenient car in the city, but as I said earlier, it will perform its functions not in the city. It is more clumsy, it is heavier, and therefore it is more dangerous in the event of an accident for other participants of the accident. Therefore, it needs a calm, experienced and adequate driver. It's harder to park it, but still it's not very big. It consumes more fuel than urban cars, but less fuel than expensive cars, but without the same functionality. It doesn't accelerate to 100 kilometers per hour in 6 seconds. It needs more time, but I'm not going to arrange races.
I look forward to repair it as soon as possible, but I understand that currently I don't have the possibility to do it. The next video I will devote to inspecting the bottom of the car. I hope you enjoyed my review and look forward to continuing. It was Valeria, the Off-Road Ranch. Wish you all the best and see you soon.